Another Alien Earth episode has come and gone, like alien splooge in a water bottle. Let's dig into episode 5, titled In Space, No One... ... We start the episode with another example of a character reacting inappropriately to death with Clem, a young Maginot crew member whom we hadn't seen previously, and whom I mistook for Bronsky in my promo breakdown. Whoopsie doodle. Technically, we do see his corpse in episode 1, and we even find out how he dies.
You think he died in the crash?
He's been shot. 2 to the body, 1 to the head.
Anyway, after waking up Morrow, he immediately starts gossiping about crew relations, letting it slip that Bronsky and Zaveri are having sex, which we later learn is a big no-no in the old Weyland-Yutani rulebook, so poor form on Clem for blabbing to the chief security officer. Now, we don't know Clem's exact role on the Maginot, but it seems like he works for security as well, given that he seems to have been in charge of the ship's cameras while Morrow was in cryo, and he's kinda Morrow's right-hand man this whole episode. We find out that Captain Dinsdale and Bronsky have both been attacked by facehuggers, and when Rahim attempted to cut Dinsdale's off, the acid ate through his neck and killed him. Sort of a what-if scenario depicting what would have happened had Ash not started with a knuckle and gone for the tail instead. Now, right off the bat, I love this setup. It cuts straight to the chase, and far more so than I had speculated in my preview breakdown. Like and subscribe for more of that, by the way. Anyway, Morrow is immediately faced with one hell of a mystery. While he was sleeping, a fire broke out, 2 alien creatures were let out of their containment units, and thanks to that, the captain is dead, and the ship is, well, kinda fucked. It's in this scene that Chibuzzo suggests what Parker will suggest 2 years from now, that they place Bronsky in cryosleep. Spoilers, turns out it don't work no good. I also love this line from Clem.
So you're saying freeze him with that thing humping his face for the rest of the ride?
It's not often a slice of alien content directly references the sexual nature of what happens with the xenomorph. Then, while Morrow is passing by, Shmuel explains why the ship crash lands in the first place.
What she didn't tell you was that the far fried our navigational systems and our engine relays. Meaning we were a spaceship, and now we're a missile, and we're heading towards Earth.
He also gives the smartest assessment of the present situation.
Put them both in the airlock and have done with it.
In the lab, Chibuzzo informs Clem about how the locking system works on the specimen containers. Green is locked, red is unlocked, simple stuff which Chibuzzo will definitely remember to check later in the episode. Zaveri is now acting captain, and she's immediately forced to deal with Morrow, who's on her case for banging Bronsky.
Company policy forbids romantic relationship between crew members.
We also learn from the scene that Morrow's orders come from Yutani herself, cluing us into something we'll learn at the end of the episode. Tang continues to be a creeper while Rahim and Clem put Bronsky in cryo and talk about, amongst other things, the 5 corporations that rule Earth. It's here that Rahim drops this line.
We've got 5 big corporations that control everything, right? But our guys want to be on top. So they send us to collect the most terrifying shit so they can use to take over. Got it?
That suggests Weyland-Yutani isn't quite as secretive about their nefarious plans as you'd expect. Meanwhile, in the specimen holding area, Morrow takes a gander at the D. Plumbicare and the now empty ovomorph before noticing the massive hole in the floor, giving us this shot from the promo. In security, Morrow takes a look at the footage of Captain Dinsdale and Bronsky getting facehugged, and even sees the perpetrator who let out the facehuggers in the first place, though he can't see their mug for identification. This cuts directly to a shot of an empty cryopod, cluing us into the big twist. Zaveri pours some dirt on Bronsky's cryopod, oh so subtly alluding to it being his coffin. That's Zaveri, eternal pessimist. Back in specimen containment, Malachite is a moron.
No, geology is the study of rocks and stuff. Biology is the study of animals.
Oh, shit. Really?
He and Shmuel are visited by Morrow. He's convinced that the saboteur had to have gone through a crawl space to avoid being seen by the cameras. While going through the armory, Morrow asks Clem about pulling the communication logs, but the files have been corrupted. Yet another gift from the mysterious saboteur. Zaveri goes to talk with Mother. We get another excellent split diopter shot, and Mother demands that she acknowledge that the cargo is top priority, something that we've seen time and time again from the company. I could be mistaken, but this scene also might be the first use of the word ovomorph in canon alien media. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. While Morrow goes through items from his daughter, he flashes back to the two of them on the beach, where we get a sweet moment that's stymied by the news that, on year 8 of the Maginot's 65-year mission, his daughter was killed in a house fire. So it turns out Morrow's story is already sadder than we had expected. Obviously, the chances of him ever seeing his daughter again were low, given the length of the mission, but the idea that he wasn't there to save her must be eating away at him. This might help to explain why, in the previous episode, he told Yutani that the mission was his life's work, because it's all he has left, and if it doesn't work out, then his daughter's death would have been for nothing. We also see in Morrow's daughter's letters that she has got the option of going to a Weyland-Yutani-sanctioned school, but that she'd rather go to an old-world college. Obviously, the latter portion of that would indicate that schools like Harvard and Yale still exist, but there's a more corporate education option in place. With how many of our characters act in this episode, I'm willing to bet most of them got the corporate education. Although this does bring up an old question, what's the timeline here for Weyland-Yutani? Per the prequels, Weyland and Yutani didn't merge until 2099, and yet when the Maginot launched in 2055, not only was Weyland-Yutani around, but they even had corporate schooling within 8 years of the launch. It seems like Noah Hawley just doesn't give a toot about the official chronology. Something he admittedly has already said to a degree. Anyway, at the same time, Bronsky's body is jettisoned, much like how Kane's was in the original Alien. That night, boom, there's an explosion. The saboteur has blown up the fuel tanks, and now the fuel reserves are down to just 8%, meaning that...
In 24 hours, the ship turns from missile to arrow.
And if that wasn't bad enough, Bronsky's chest burster has, well, burst. Morrow immediately gathers up electric weapons to stun the loose alien, which he explicitly states needs to be taken alive, a directive he'll continue to abide by for the near future. Of note is Morrow denying Rahim's suggestion that they wake up the 10 crew members currently in cryo to help with finding the escaped xenomorph. If he'd taken the suggestion, he might have noticed that there were only 9. Meanwhile, Chibouzo is continuing to casually research Species 19, aka the Tick, which we learn is terrifyingly smart, as one of them opens its containment thingy and promptly splooges little baby Species 19s into her water bottle, which is just left out, open on the table, no big deal, just a scientist leaving her water bottle open in the middle of a lab. No big deal. The highlight of this scene is watching Teoculus witnessing the whole thing and plotting its little escape. It does get a little plot push thanks to Chibouzo not securing it properly. Zaveri calls a meeting, where perhaps most importantly, Malachite drinks out of Chibouzo's water bottle. So, yeah, we know how he's dying. Badly. The other big thing is that Morrow, Zaveri, and Clem are the only ones allowed to have guns, while Morrow investigates who the saboteur is. This does lead to the question, later on, the actual saboteur has a gun? I'm not sure where that comes from. It doesn't matter. Morrow interrogates Rahim, who it turns out isn't the saboteur, but instead has potentially been stealing drugs from the pharmacy. While Shmuel continues working on the ship, Malachite pukes up blood, letting us know that the Tick's birthing process has begun. Then, back in the lab, Chibouzo and Zaveri discover that Teoculus has escaped. Whoops-a-doodle. While this is happening, Tang is interrogated. Turns out the big secret he was concealing in the promo wasn't quite what we expected. He basically hands Morrow the truth, that one of the crew members in cryo is actually awake. Back in security, we get a look at just how much control Morrow really has. These communication logs are the full video communications for every crew member, and from there, he stumbles upon the big twist. Not only is Petrovich the one sabotaging the ship, but he's doing so at the beck and call of Boy Cavalier, who specifically asks for the ship to land in Prodigy territory.
If the specs you sent are right, and you can pull this off, landing the ship in my kingdom, you're about to be the richest man in whatever cousin-marrying shithole valley you fuck cows in.
One nifty detail from this scene is Petrovich in his video call with Cavalier complaining about the risk taken by the crew and how bugs laid eggs in his woman's eyes.
65 years, and all the risk that we took, and bugs laid eggs in my woman's eyes. And for what? You know, the quarter share for what time?
First of all, we don't know which one of the specimens did that, but it's probably the mysterious fly that we have yet to really see. Secondly, this helps us better understand why the characters can be so unconcerned with death. This mission has obviously brought a lot of it, and in those 65 years, the journey to acquire these alien species has led to a potentially high number of close friends dying. This echoes what Shmuel said in episode 1.
We lost a lot of good men getting them.
Thirdly, Petrovich complaining about what happened to his woman further confirms Morrow's distaste toward humanity, as well as how relationships can affect the mission. Petrovich, by the way, in the opening to episode 1 is also the one to explain who Cavalier is. He also offers to take a look at the comm files, which Dinsdale noted at the time were corrupted. Then, when Shmuel is complaining about the company, we get this cutaway to a close-up of Petrovich, looking to be in secret agreement with Shmuel. Honestly, it was staring us right in the face the whole time. Now, this is where things really kick off. While Super Creep Tang gets Xeno murdered off-screen, Rahim and Chibuzo operate on Malachite, and they discover that they really should have worn some freaking masks while dealing with an alien species. They get gassed with neurotoxin by the ticks and die horribly. You'll recall that Joe brought up the method of death back in episode 2.
Some kind of toxin.
Oh, and if you're looking for Easter eggs, check it out! It's the same med scanner from the Nostromo, dude! Anyway, these deaths have quite the effect on Zaveri, who seems completely traumatized, which isn't too surprising, but also gives more credence to Morrow's accusation earlier that she was distracted. Then Clem and Morrow are shot at by Petrovich, who kills Clem and gets knifed by Morrow. He leaves Clem's body behind, which is immediately feasted upon by the ticks. It's pretty gross. We do, however, get one last longing look from Morrow, suggesting that Clem was more than just a fellow security officer, and he probably considered him a friend or even some kind of son figure. It's in the very next scene that Zaveri is confronted by the Xenomorph, which gives her more of a chance to run away than anyone else in the show. She almost has Joe levels of plot armor. You know, until she doesn't. She manages to make it to the bridge where Shmuel is just standing there, and I feel like we all immediately knew where this was going. He turns around, and, shock and awe, he's been taken over by T. Ocelus. Long story short, Shmuel attacks Zaveri while the Xeno crawls away, leaving Morrow to come out of hiding and enter the bridge. There he has a little showdown with Shmuel, but the Xeno returns and winds up fighting Shmuel, who, oddly enough, calls to the Xenomorph beforehand, seemingly ushering it back into the room. It's hard to say whether it's actually communicating in any substantive way, but it's at the very least really freaking smart. This whole fight is pretty wild, too. We've never seen a human being fight this hard with a xenomorph. Sure, it's technically just a human body being controlled by a demonic eye creature, but tomato tomato. And then the Teocelus winds up hopping out of Shmuel's eye socket and trying to find the eyes on the Xeno, which is both really wild and kind of funny, considering we know that eye monster is shit out of luck. Anyway, then we're back at the scene in episode 1 where Morrow leaves Zaveri to die by Xenomorph, now with a lot of added context. Meanwhile, on Earth, we see that Morrow has come in to see Yutani in her, Bond villain lair. Seriously, what's up with these highly impractical samurai dudes? How do they walk through doorways? I get that Yutani likes a theme, but good lord. Here we learn that Yutani's grandmother had looked after Morrow as a boy, and that Yutani herself trusts Morrow's judgment, and she gives him full access to Weyland-Yutani resources, meaning yes, we very well could be getting some offense from that side of the conflict.
Talk to me.
Do you want the public version or the private one?
Overall, I enjoyed the episode, but it's not without its flaws. For one, the pacing is kinda terrible, and it's really down to Noah Hawley's script and direction. It takes forever for anyone on the Maginot to act with any real urgency about the goings-on, when really by the halfway point they should have been feeling more pressure. Then when things finally get really crazy, that's kind of the end of the episode. I also do agree with others that the crew is shockingly incompetent, although there is an explanation to be had there. We know that a large number of the crew didn't complete the journey, and so the assumption here could be that the Maginot was left with the least qualified personnel. It's a bit flimsy, sure, but it's good enough for my personal headcanon. All that said, though, the stuff with the Teocelus and the ticks is delightfully grotesque, and I enjoy watching Morrow do his thing, even if it does seem obvious in hindsight that he should have checked that everyone was accounted for. This was a good but very flawed hour of a filmmaker basically speedrunning the original Alien, and with that, I'm satisfied as a fan. It doesn't quite have the same gravitas as that film, but what do you expect? It's a TV show. Which, hey, that brings me to my final thoughts, which are, hey, what did you think of the episode? Let me know in the comments, like and subscribe while you're down there, And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye now.